sunny afternoon greets us from Pukekohe Park in New Zealand on GTR2 for the running of the 1994 Pukekohe 500. Endurance racing for saloon cars goes back many years at Pukekohe, but the 500km enduro, held a week after the Wellington street race, started in the mid-80s and ran through until 1993. For 1994, with the Wellington 500 street race becoming a round of the Asia Pacific Touring Car Championship, which required a switch to sprint races, the Pukekohe meeting a weekend later followed the same suit, and in 1994 short sprints were held for Class 2 touring cars and featured only a small grid. To finish off our 1994 season, I thought I'd do a bit of a what if event. What if they had held the 1994 Pukekohe 500? This is also a way to use some of the Wellington 500 cars in the FRM Touring Cars mod from 1993, as well as the Bathurst cars from the 1994 Bathurst 1000, which ran as a Class B to the Class A V8s. So let's have a look through the starting order, and I'll have a bit of a chat about the cars as I go through and how I feel they would have had a place in the 1994 Pukekohe 500 had it been held. And so in pole position, car number 46, the Diet Coke BMW, Paul Morris and Alfred Hager. This is the car they used in the 1994 Bathurst 1000, and it's perfectly reasonable to expect they would have entered a 500km race, given that Morris did run the Pukekohe event that followed a week after the Wellington street race in 1994. Alongside on row 1, the Peugeot 405, Justin Bell and Rob Gravett. This car ran in the 1993 Wellington 500 and the Pukekohe 300 that year, so this is a good chance to use this car, and a very good job in the Peugeot to put it on the front row. Inside of row 2, position number 3, the Schnitzer BMW, Joachim Winkelhock and Steve Soper. Schnitzer were regulars at Pukekohe from 1988 through to 1992, winning the 1992 event in their Group A M3. As they were out for the 94 Asia Pacific Championship round, there's every reason to expect they'd have backed up a week later to do the 500km at Pukekohe, and one of the favourites for the race, especially with that driving team. Position number 4, car number 1, the Yellow Pages Ford Mondeo, Paul Radisich and Glenn Seaton. This is the car Radisich and Seaton drove in the 1993 Wellington and Pukekohe Enduros, and they won the Pukekohe 300 in 1993. Radisich at the time, the New Zealander, it was his homecoming at the end of 93 to do these races, and he's backing up in 1994 in the Yellow Pages car. Position number 5, car number 56, Greg Murphy and James Kay, the Oryx Toyota Carina. This car ran in the 94 Australian Manufacturers Championship, alternating between Murphy and Kay, and then they teamed up at the Bathurst 1000, so they're a perfect fit for this event. Position number 6, the Nissan Sentra, car number 24, Bruce Miles and Murray Clellan from New Zealand. In the 93 Wellington event, this wasn't a Class 2 spec car, but it was a New Zealand production entry. Obviously the Class 2 Sentra is all we have in the game, so that's what they're running in this event, decked out in the Cockburn Nissan colours. Position number 7, car number 34, the Castrol Toyota Corona of Julian Bailey and Michael Bate. Now 2 Castrol Toyota Coronas ran at the 94 Pukekohe sprint meeting, one for Julian Bailey, one for Michael Bate, so there's every reason to believe they would have teamed up for a crack at the 500km enduro, so that's what they're doing here. Car number 34, qualifying 7th, possibly a little bit down the order, they're behind the Oryx car, which was effectively their teammate, so they'll be looking to move forward over the course of the race. Position 8, car number 4, Harry Nuttall and Glenn McIntyre. This car ran in the 1993 Wellington 500, so this is a good chance for them to back up for the 1994 edition. Of course, in England this was a Vauxhall Cavalier, but over in New Zealand they called it an Opel Vectra. Position 9, that is us, Russ Dugman, Opel Vectra, Charlie Rickett co-driving with us. Now in 1993 for the Pukekohe Enduro, Harry Nuttall went home and Charlie Rickett partnered Glenn McIntyre, so we're effectively just running a second car, Charlie Rickett driving alongside me. The Opal's a nice little car to drive. I've found in practice and qualifying, and I think we can do really well in this race. It's a very forgiving car, and I think it'll be perfect over 178 laps. Position number 10, car number 45, another Diet Coke BMW, New Zealanders Craig Baird and Brett Riley. Now they teamed up in this car in the 1994 Bathurst 1000. They also drove together in the 93 Wellington 500 in a more production New Zealand spec BMW. So they're teaming up again in this car for the 94 Enduro. Position number 11, Jeff Brabham and Charlie O'Brien, car number 83, the third of the Diet Coke BMWs. Now, Jeff Brabham drove at Wellington for the Diet Coke team, and he'd signed on to drive in the 1995 Australian Super Touring Championship for the team. Charlie O'Brien, he had a good relationship with BMW New Zealand and the Diet Coke team. He raced successfully in New Zealand in a BMW during the Group A years in the mid to late 80s. He'd also driven for the Legamo team, which ran the Diet Coke entries, in the 1994 Bathurst 1000, finishing third with Tony Longhurst in a Holden Commodore. So he knew the team, he'd drive for the team in the future, so every reason to think there's a good chance they'd have teamed up had this event taken place. Position 12, car number 11, the first of the non-Class 2 cars, the effectively Class B, the Porsche class, we'll be calling this in this race, Bruno Eichmann and Owen Evans. Now they won the 1993 Wellington 500 in this car. Bruno Eichmann, obviously, he raced in the 1994 German Super Touring Series, and he was our teammate when we did the series earlier in the season. Owen Evans, a New Zealander, so every reason to expect they'd have backed up in 1994 to defend their success. Position 13, Peter McKay and Jamie Miller in the Technophone Mercedes 190E. They ran this car in the 94 Bathurst 1000. Of course, Phil Ward had driven one of these cars in the 94 Australian Manufacturers Championship for Class 2 cars, but he'd gone with a V8 for Bathurst. So McKay and Miller drove this, and they're in this car again here at Pukekohe. Position 14, John Blanchard and Warwick Rooklin, Benton and Hedges BMW. They drove this car in the 94 Bathurst 1000. It's the car that Tony Longhurst drove to win the 94 2-litre Australian Manufacturers Championship. Longhurst, though, left the team following Bathurst to do his own thing in V8s for 1995, so Blanchard and Rooklin have come across the ditch to do this event. Position 15, New Zealand locals, Dennis Chapman and Brian Bradshaw in their Class 2 BMW. Position 16, John Cotter, Peter Duhlman, car number 52, the Clark BMW. Regulars at Bathurst over the years, they ran this car in the 1994 Bathurst 1000, car number 52. The M3, a real stayer, even by this point in 2-litre racing, outclassed by the newer, faster machinery, but they should be there for the whole race. Position 17, John Sachs and James McAlpine. Sachs from New Zealand, McAlpine from England, car number 157, BMW M3. They ran in the 1993 Wellington 500. Also from the 93 Wellington 500, car number 53, Alan Cattle and Brett Taylor from New Zealand in their BMW M3. Position 19 on the grid, Alan Letcher and Bill Cedars in a Peugeot 405, car number 57 from the 1994 Bathurst 1000. Position number 20, first of the V8 Commodores, car number 6, Miles Pope and Peter Van Brugel in the BP Visco Commodore, effectively a teammate in many ways to the two Opel Vectras, sharing the BP sponsorship. Now, this was a 6-cylinder Commodore in the 1993. 6-cylinder version is not available that I can find on GTR2, so they're running the VN Group A. Position number 21, similar boat to the Pope Van Brugel Commodore, we've got Ed Lamont and Tony Scott, car number 18. Similar situation, 6-cylinder Commodore in the 93 event, but they're in a V8 for this one. Position number 22, the only Sierra in the race, 2-litre normally aspirated version. This car was from the 1993 Bathurst 1000. Steve Ellery and Gary Gazzardi. Ellery, of course, ran the 94 Australian Manufacturers Championship and also did 2 rounds of the Australian Touring Car Championship when 2-litre cars were still eligible to race alongside the V8s, even though they had their own series on the side. But a very good car and should hopefully be a stayer over the distance. Position 23, Steve Hardman and Jeff Full, the Hyundai Elantra. This car debuted at Bathurst in both of their hands, and of course went on to be driven by Colin Bond at Macau and Wellington. And from position 24, Michael Martin, Ken Matthews, Peugeot 405 for Phoenix Motorsport. Familiar colour scheme to us. Of course, we drove this car in the 94 Australian Manufacturers Championship that we did. They drove the 89 car at Bathurst. Position 25, Andrew Reid, Melinda Price, Gary Jones, Toyota Corolla, also from the 94 Bathurst 1000. Position number 26, Tony Newman and Wade Henshaw in the Fastway Couriers Nissan GTR, not the Group A Godzilla version, but a production spec car, so that's hence why it's a fair way down the grid, because if it was the full Group A version it'd be sitting on pole position, I dare say. They ran this car in the 93 Wellington 500. Position 27, Ian Spurl, Phil Alexander, the IPC Peugeot. Now this car raced in this colour scheme in the 94 Pukekohe sprint races. Quite a striking livery, and naturally because of that it's in our race as well. Position 28, Chris Barnes and Malcolm Ray. Chris Barnes drove this car in the same 94 Pukekohe sprint races. Malcolm Ray was the car owner, so he's alongside for the enduro. Position 29, car number 171 for Retco Haulage, Charles Munro and Kevin Kiddo in a New Zealand Peugeot. Position 30, second of the Porsches, Nigel Arkell and Ross Heffernan. They drove this car to second in the 1993 Wellington 500, so they've now got a place in our 94 Pukekohe 500 event. From 31, second of the Lighting Direct Porsches and the third of the Porsches in the class, Bill Fulford and Bill Farmer, car number 9. As with the other Porsches, they ran in the 93 Wellington 500 and Pukekohe 300. So position 32, car number 122, an Opel Manta. This is the first of sort of the what-if cars in the race, because they ran a third Porsche, but I thought given the mixed and varied grids that the New Zealand Enduros had in the early 90s, I thought this was a good chance to sort of showcase some of the more rarely used cars in the FRM Touring Cars mod. So I thought it was a good way we can get cars like the Opel Manta into the game. So Gary Mathias and Grant Liston are out of the Porsche and into the Opel Manta for this race. They're starting, as we said, 32nd on the grid. Position 33, another Group A Holden Commodore. This is a VL model. Trevor McLean and Andrew Anderson. They ran this car in the 1993 Wellington 500. There was a Group A class, and while they weren't overly competitive with the lighter rivals, I guess you could say, it was still good to see them out there, so we've got them in our race. And alongside, in position number 34, another VL Group A Holden Commodore, Bernie Gillen and Jim Bull, also from the 93 Wellington 500. Position number 35, Keith Sharp and John Sorensen. Now they're running a Group A Toyota Supra in this race. In the 93 Wellington and Pukekohe Enduros, they ran a 6-cylinder Ford Falcon. But unfortunately the EB model Falcon isn't available in GTR2, so I had to find a substitute. This Supra is 6 cylinders, so that's close enough. So we'll see how they go over a race distance, car number 10. Position number 36. We've got a Volkswagen Golf, which is substituting for a Toyota Corolla hatchback. Ted Jarvis and Tony Robinson in the Air Vanuatu, car number 80. And from position number 37, car number 74, Brian Bate and Struan Robinson. Another VW Golf, which technically was a Toyota Corolla for this event. Position number 38. Toyota Celica, Gary Pedersen and Mike Eady. Another Castrol sponsored Toyota in this race. That brings it up to 3 of them. And another of sort of the more rarely used cars in the touring car mod. But good to see it out there. It certainly has a place in our race. And at the tail of the field, one of the oldest cars in the race, but it competed in the 93 Pukekohe 300. Alan Drinkrow and Bruce Drinkrow in a Toyota Corolla. Off the back of the grid, but great to have it part of the race. And one thing the Corollas are, they're stayers, so we'll see how they go over the race distance. So about time to go for the pace lap. It's a rolling start, 178 laps. So let's go see what happened if there had been a 1994 Pukekohe 500. So off we set, behind the pace car for the start of the 94 Pukekohe 500. Just be the one warm-up lap and then straight into it. A few nerves. It should be a competitive race. I really think we've got what amounts to a representative grid. If there was a 94 race, we got the Class 2 2-litre cars at the front of the field, and then further on back we've got a mix of cars which represents sort of what the Wellington and Pukekohe 500s have become in the Nissan Mobile series by the mid 1990s. There's a bit of a mix of, there's Porsches, some old Group A cars, some smaller sort of one-off production cars at the tail of the field. If all goes to plan, we'll get to lap 60 for the first pit stop. Charlie Rickett will get into the middle stint, and we'll finish it off. Got the Craig Baird, Brett Riley, Diet Coke BMW alongside us, and Julian Bailey and young New Zealander Michael Bate in front of us in the Castrol Toyota Corona, as it's called here. There's our teammate, Harry Nuttall, Glenn McIntyre. So, coming up for the start. What's going on as a car? So as the pole sitter is around, what has gone on there? The Hager Morris BMW was sideways. And what is going on? There goes the leader back past. There'll have to be another warm-up lap, I assume. So there goes one of the Porsches. The car in front of us is going incredibly slow. I assume we can't pass. And they'll have to be... they've waved the green flag. There will have to be a red flag and a restart. There'll definitely be a red flag and a restart as we roll around onto the back straight. So they'll grid all the cars up and we'll have another go. In for the start of the 1994 Pukekohe 500. We get the green flag and we're away. Sort of in the wrong gear a little bit, so we dropped a bit of time. So we go around turn 1 into the chicane for the first time. Baird Riley BMW's in front of us. Looks like a safe start to the 94 Pukekohe 500. We've got a good run. Thought we had a good run. All's over to try and block us. Our teammate just in front of us to the left. So a good second start to the race. After a bit of a debacle of the first start. Up to the hairpin for the first time. We get inside Craig Baird. The other Diet Coke BMW, the third Diet Coke BMW of Jeff Brabham and Charlie O'Brien, was just in behind them. Harry Nuttall in front of us, sharing with Glenn McIntyre. Our teammates. A bit of a better run than us through there. Around turn one, first time at full speed. Tyres still a little bit cold. So through the right-hander onto the back straight, a little bit skatey. So we're up to 9th. I'm hopeful we can work our way up in the early stages, because it's going to get very hectic once the yellow flag. There's something in the air. Something came off. Looked like the rear bumper of the Cleland Miles Nissan Sentra, which did a great job in qualifying to get so high on the grid. Coming into the weekend, you would have said that was one of the less fancied of the runners. In real life, in the 93 Wellington 500, that car was a New Zealand spec car, but that spec car's not available in the FRM Touring Car mod, so they've got a Class 2 spec car in our version of the 94 race. Down the back straight, everyone line has still got a bit of a gap over Baird. Oof. Very hard on the brakes. He sort of came across on us, did Nuttall. Can we get around him? Through the double left. We'll come up over the Mobile Mountain and we're ahead. Very easy to drop a tyre out in the dirt off the top of the mountain across the line. Through the chicane, we'll come through this right hander onto the back straight. We can't be too far off lapping people, because there's a big spread between the cars at the front of the field and the cars at the back, something like 9 seconds in qualifying. As the fuel load comes down a bit, we should be able to cut the corner a bit too much there. As the fuel load comes down, we should be able to hopefully flow through there in second gear. Over Mobile Mountain for the 4th time. Bit of oversteer. Probably trying a bit too hard. So we're running 8th. Our practice pace was a bit better than this. We were sort of the 3rd or 4th quickest car in practice, and then qualifying struggled to get a clear lap in the traffic, but back to first gear. We're holding Nuttall up a little bit. Such a great history for this race. Of course, had its roots in the Benson and Hedges 6-hour endurance race throughout the 70s and into the early 80s. And with the advent of the Wellington 500 in 1985, the Pukekohe 500 was brought in as the twin event, run the week after Wellington. Initially at the start of the year we've had big puff of dust. There's a BMW off. That looked like the Morris Hager pole-sitting BMW. And if that's out of the race, that gives a major free pass to the Schnitzer BMW. Which, despite its qualifying time, those two set the pace in practice. As we come around, we're right behind Miles. We've got the Celica in front of us, Gary Pedersen. The Volkswagen Golf, which is sort of simulating some front-wheel drive Toyota Corollas in this race. The Drinkrow family Toyota Sprinter. Can we get up the inside of the Nissan? It's a late move. Oh, no, we can't. That's the ultimate answer. I fear that BMW is out of the race. Morris Hager, what a disappointment. They were one of the favourites. Equal favourite with Soper and Winkelhock. Come onto the back straight. Looks like the Carter's Tyres Group A Holden Commodore up ahead of Trevor McLean and Andrew Anderson. In the draft of Julian Bailey. Get around the Sentra. Can we follow Bailey through? We can. Corollas, Volkswagen Golfs up ahead. Looks like the Air Vanuatu car. So we've made a spot up to 6th. Through the chicane. Wide, touch the dirt. So just settle into a rhythm. Second gear, or maybe that can work. We've got the Placemakers Holden Commodore of Jim Bull, who we just got around. One or two VL Group A Commodores in this race. There's also the VN model Commodores. Behind the Toyota Supra. Got the inside. That's Keith Sharp and John Sorensen. Now in real life in the 93 race that was a production spec Ford Falcon EB, but that doesn't exist in the FRM Touring Car mods, so we've substituted that with a Group A Toyota Supra, which is similar-ish. 6-cylinder engine, big and heavy. And one of the Porsches, this is the Ross Heffernan red one, which we get around. There's two other Porsches in the race, the Lighting Direct cars. Bruno Eichmann in one of them, the one that's setting the pace. He, of course, if you follow this channel, you're familiar with him from our 94 German Touring Car Cup. He was our teammate in the Eggenberger Ford team. So lap 11, running 6th. I was saying earlier that a rich tradition in the Pukekohe 500. Won by touring car royalty all around the world. For instance, 1986, which was a real international field for the Nissan Mobile Series. The 86 Pukekohe event was won by John Harvey and Neil Lowe for Holden. And Larry Perkins and Denny Holm won the 87 version. Go through the years, you had Dick Johnson, John Bauer won it in a Sierra. Jim Richards and Mark Scaife won it in a Nissan GTR. Oh, and there's the Manta's gone around. Was he helped? Unfortunately, the more Group A started to struggle on a world sort of stage, that did affect this race, and they had to start bringing in sort of production spec and GT spec cars to bolster the grid. And then when Group A, in terms of the Oceania area, was all gone by the end of 92, they had a couple of Super Tourers come for 93, but then the field was padded out by... Oh, we've made a spot here. Nipped up the inside of Bailey while he was balked by the slower traffic. Wayne Munro, Kevin Kiddo, Peugeot just in front of us. Oof, oof. Got on the brakes midway through the corner. We've got Greg Murphy and James Kay ahead of us. We'll get up the inside. Another spot made. Oh, thought I'll chance it. Up the inside of the Drinkrow family Corolla Sprinter, which did a lot of these Pukekohe Enduros and Wellington Enduros, and was in the 1993 event. So I've used a lot of 93 entries as part of this 94 field that I've put together, along with, I thought it was a good chance to make use of some of the Bathurst cars from 1994, given that there's no sort of V8 5-litre touring car mod from 94 to do a Bathurst to go with those cars. So this is a good way to use those 94 Bathurst cars, as well as you can believe some cars would have... Well, I mean, there was a Pukekohe meeting the week after Wellington, the Wellington Asia Pacific Touring Car Championship round in 1994, but it was just a couple of sprint races. And for instance, the likes of Jeff Brabham. Can we get up the inside of the Golf? The likes of Jeff Brabham, Paul Morris, Julian Bailey, Michael Bate, Craig Baird in the BMW, they were all here. And you can imagine if there was an international enduro the week after Wellington that the Schnitzer BMW team would have stuck around, as they did in previous years. They were New Zealand regulars at the end of the season since 1988 rather. Oh! Commodore broadslide across the road. The McLean Carter's Tyres machine. So we're closing in on a Peugeot here. Get around him at turn 1. So... Oof! Up the back of the Van Brugel. Miles Pope. Holden Commodore. Now there's a red Commodore VN, also driven by Tony Scott and Ed Lamont. In the real life 93 race, they were 6-cylinder Commodores, but the VN Group A V8 version is all that exists of that model in this game, so that's what they've got. And that Commodore is sort of our teammate in a way. Similar sponsors as the Nuttall McIntyre Vectra had. We don't need to be doing that. Given we were trying to make some time on the leaders. We're into lap 17, we're running 4th. Back to first gear. Greg Murphy, James Kay and the Oryx Toyota just behind us. Over the Mobile Mountain. It's like the Air Vanuatu Golf, which we'll get up the inside of. Very, very slow through here. Some of the back markers. It's like the Melinda Price, Andrew Reid Toyota from Bathurst. We'll go past, and then up ahead then is the John Sachs James McAlpine BMW M3. Steve Ellery, Gary Gazzardi, Ford Sierra. That's from Bathurst 93, that car. So we get around the Sierra. BMW ahead of us, the M3. John Sachs raced M3s for a long time, both in Australia and New Zealand. Raced at Bathurst and this car has a habit of getting quite skatey at times. The Opel Vectra, as it was called when running New Zealand in 93. To the hairpin. The Bernie Gillen, Jim Bull, Holden Commodore Group A. That's what we're coming up to lap. Very slow over the Mobile Mountain. We'll get past. Through turn 1. Crash it over the curb. Closing in on 3rd place. They're going very slow. The Gary Pedersen Toyota, so it's Winkelhock in front of us in the Schnitzer BMW, so we may be able to make a spot here. Oh! How did we not hit anyone? In the dirt. Okay, so we're up to third. There's a lot more action-packed than I thought it was going to be. So we've gone 10th to 3rd, 11th to 3rd rather, in 20 laps. So ahead of us looks like the Justin Bell Rob Gravett Motorola Peugeot. Shows how much lap traffic plays a part on this track, especially with the AI. They're a bit more timid than us when it comes to the lap traffic. So the fact that Bell and Gravett are there, that would indicate it's the Paul Radisich, Glenn Seaton Ford Mondeo. That's in the lead. And they of course won in real life the 1993 Pukekohe 300. Behind the Bill Cedars, Alan Letcher Peugeot. First gear. Winklehawk just in behind us. Looks like the red Porsche. We're coming up the lap along with one of the Golfs. Ryan Bate. Get up the inside here. And looks like one of the lighting direct Porsches we're coming up on. First gear, car number 9, so I think that's the Bill Farmer, Bill Fulford car. Car number 11 is the Bruno Eichmann, Owen Evans car. So we'll go up the inside, over the mountain. Of course the longer version of the Pukekohe track used to turn left about here. Rejoin just to the left there. So we crash over, if you could see it as we crash over the curb, as we close in on the Manta, the Matthias Manta. That was used quite a bit for a long time, particularly for a lot of touring car enduros, the longer track, but at some point I think some of the land was sold off. Resorted mainly to this sort of shorter track. A bit of understeer. So the Bell Gravett 405 up ahead of us. There's one car around, it's the Sorensen Sharp Toyota. Oh, use all the curb. Sort of dragging Soper with us a bit. So try and make a bit of time on the Motorola Peugeot, which of course was a real car that ran in the 93 event. This is also a good chance to use those cars. So that's sort of where the idea to run this race came from. Just going around the full Hardman Hyundai. No doubt, just like a real race, you got to take a lot of chances with the traffic around here, because it's relatively high speed. We're back with the Munro Kiddo Peugeot, which we'll dive up the inside of. And we're right in the slipstream now of Justin Bell. Another Peugeot we're closing in on. The Gillen Bull Commodore is there again. We'll get him as well before the mountain. Back to fourth gear. Really try and throw it across. Ed Lamont, Tony Scott, AC Delco, Commodore. Oh, and Gravett comes across us. We get across his bow. Down the back straight. Where is he? Where is he? I can't see him. I think we're ahead. Commodore on the left of us. Now the Barry Barnes, Malcolm Ray Toyota. This next one, so we're up to second. A long way off the race leader, which I'm assuming is Paul Radicic. In the Ford, the hometown favourite, who came home in 93 with the Ford Mondeo that he'd done so well with in the British Touring Car Championship. Underneath the Holden. Another back straight. There's a lot of work to do. Radicic driving with Glenn Seaton, who in 93 was the Australian Touring Car Champion. In a Ford, first year of the V8 5 litre formula, which in time become known as V8 supercars, nowadays just supercars. It's the apex a little bit there. Up on a big gaggle of lapped cars. I'd say that's why the Fords lost a lot of time, because we're only 10 seconds behind now. But this will be the story of the race. Cars everywhere here. Martin Matthews Peugeot in front of us. Someone will recognise that paint job from what we used in the 94 Australian Manufacturers Championship. Oh, a couple of Toyotas getting close there. turn one, the yellow flags are out. There's a Porsche that's gone around. Oh! How did we? Are we okay? That was huge. The Porsche has come back onto the track. We had nowhere to go. I thought I'd cleared him. The car could be okay. Feels okay. We've only dropped one spot. So we can come back up to the culprit. Tracking's out a little bit, but which we're going to have to get used to. That was a huge crash, so where have we popped out? Down to 4th. Looks like we got away with it damage-wise. I was worried we were out of the race there. So it doesn't take much to damage these engines. Oh. The car is very touchy now. Wandering around a little bit. Back to 3rd gear. So 4th place. Looks like the Schnitzer BMW's dropped to 5th behind us, which is quite surprising. Thought they'd be setting the pace, especially with the Morris BMW gone. Up behind the McLean Commodore, which we get around. BMW. Oh. Right now we'll get up onto the back straight. Past the TV Times Porsche. The race was looking alright actually. Got ourselves up to 2nd and it's gone a bit haywire, but still a lot of time to try and make up. The bumper on the ground. Don't know who that's off. There's a stack up. I think that's one of the bugs with this track. The AI tend to try and go to the pits from the middle of the track. So we go around Ellery. Lean on him a little bit. Cotter Dillman, Clark BMW. So we duck through. Got the Drink Row Toyota, which will get around. First gear for the hairpin, the Brett Taylor, Alan Cattle BMW M3s in front of us. We'll work our way around him. Someone's gone to the pits, I think, because we're now third. Oh, the Bradshaw Chapman BMW. Didn't do us many favours. Placemakers Commodore will get around. So second place is now looks like Julian Bailey, Michael Bate, in the Castrol Toyota. Which is a really strong run by them because they weren't sort of in this position earlier on. Steer onto the back straight. Winkelhock Soper BMW in behind us. So we pull 6th gear. Back to first. Probably trying a bit too hard through there. Noble Mountain. The Iowa BMW in behind us, closing in. Can we get the... No, we can't. Just cut across. Sun beginning to make its presence felt in our eyes on the back straight. My biggest concern at the moment is that I don't think we're going to reach lap 60 on fuel. Might require a bit of a strategy rethink. But if we can't do it in 2 stops, it's going to be a real problem. Over the curb. The Manta in front of us that was off the track earlier on. So 37 laps down. Had an accident with a Porsche, but we're still running third rather. Managed to box the BMW in behind the Opel. Oof. Sorry, Keith Sharp, but I had to keep drilling you there. Not very gentlemanly of me. Coming up on a Porsche. Possibly the one that spun in our direction. It is car 9. That is so easy to have a big off there. We go around the outside. Back to third gear. The Kiddo Munro Peugeot gets on the brakes halfway through the corner. Doesn't help us. Get around the Commodore. Whole gaggle of cars here. The Ray Barnes Toyota. The Ian Spurl Peugeot, IPC Peugeot. And the McLean Commodore, which we will beat up under brakes. We continue our pursuit of the Bailey Bate Castrol car, the Corona / Carina. If you can flow it through those first couple of corners, you save so much time. The Drink Road Toyota. As I mentioned earlier, it's a stalwart of the Miss and Mobile series for many, many years. Oh. Probably not the finest. We lost a front left tyre because all of a sudden we're not turning right. "41 laps down in the 94 Pukekohe 500 and we're running third. Losing time. There's not a lot of cars going around on their own. You seem to get clear track for a couple of laps and then next minute you'll come across a whole gaggle of cars. Past the Heffernan Porsche. Julian Bailey. Of course, former Formula 1 driver. Made a couple of starts in 1991 with Tyrrell. Get the Edelmont Commodore. One of the Porsches and the Bernie Gillen Commodore. Around the Commodore, very slow through there. Looks like this is Bruno Eichmann ahead, car number 11. The Swiss driver. Round him up. Yellow flag out. Somewhere on the track. Looks like a car off to the left. BMW by the looks. I loved these end of season enduros in New Zealand at the time. That was a little bit of understeer. A great way to end the year, and particularly when we had teams like Schnitzer come down, made it a much different race to even Bathurst. Like for instance, Schnitzer, in terms of the Group A years, only came to Bathurst in official capacity in 1987, although there had been Schnitzer car and drivers here in 85 and 86 at Bathurst when the Bob Jane team brought them over. But in terms of works cars, it was 87, but they came to New Zealand in 88 through 92. Gazardi, and then we got Air Vanuatu. Golf, get around. Just gave a real point of difference for the end of the year. A couple of enduros after the main championships were over and done with. But they were prestigious international events in their own right. Whereas these days there's the attitude that if it's not a championship race offering championship points, then it's not worth doing in most cases. Which is a real shame. Oh! No. That hurts. That really hurts. Could not have done it at a worse time. Oh. We've just made a spot back at least. Gotten up inside of Murphy. Just dropped a wheel off coming out of the Mobile Mountain. This race is not going to plan. We're also not going to have enough fuel to get to lap 60. Some chances I don't usually like to take. Trying to think what we're going to do strategy-wise too. That was a big lose. We were so lucky to... I only just nudged the wall. So I think I'll pit on end of lap 50, so the end of the next lap, and then I'll do a double stint, and we'll put Charlie Rickett in for forty odd laps. Then I'll bring the car home if we're still going by then. Pit at the end of this lap. On the bumperless Shellgrave Sierra. Oh. Past the Eichmann Porsche, and then we've got our nemesis, the other Porsche, Bill Farmer. Oh, jeez. Alright, so we'll come into the pits. So here's how the race standings look after 50 laps. In the lead, car number 1, Paul Radicic, Glenn Seaton in the Ford Mondeo. Second place, Julian Bailey, Michael Bate. In third, the Schnitzer BMW of Winkelhock and Soper. We were running fourth, and in fifth place, Murphy and Kay in the second of the Coronas. In the Porsche class, Eichmann and Evans, they're running 13th outright, a long way ahead of the second place car number 15, Arkell and Heffernan. They're 25th outright, with Farmer and Fulford third place in the class, 27th outright. In the Group A class, Lamont and Scott, 18th outright, leading the class ahead of Pope and Van Brugel in the other Commodore. In third is the Opel Manta of Matthias and Liston. Fourth place, Gillen and Bull. And fifth place, Trevor McLean's Holden Commodore. That's after 50 laps. So back into the race. over a minute and a half in the pits. 2 cars stopped. Looks like a Commodore and the Mercedes. And we're off on cold tyres. It's too distracted by other stuff going on. This race is going down the drain. So nearly a minute and a half in the pits. We had some suspension repaired, which I thought we may as well, because it's probably how much time we'll lose in the rest of the race if we didn't repair it. At least now the steering should be quite good. Rear tyres are still quite cold. Come up to turn 1. Commodore off. Looked like, yes, it was the Miller Mercedes. Oh, we get through. The Jamie Miller, Peter McKay Mercedes looked like it had retired. We've got a lot of work to do though. Looks like the Chapman Bradshaw BMW that's off to the left. Been there since before the pit stop, of course. Oh, thought about chancing it. Past the 171 Peugeot. I'm gonna have to try hard. A lot of ground to make up. The inside, we've got the TV guide Porsche. Around the Gulf. Great collection of cars in this race, not just from the FRM Touring Cars mod, but obviously we got the Commodore VL Group A's from Touring Car Legends. So the Sprinter. We've got a couple of Porsches from the BPR mod. We've got the VN Group A Holden Commodores. And I just want to give a little shout out to iKeys Racing, who gave me the idea to add some extra cars like those to the FRM cars for this race. Go check his channel out. He does a lot of similar era racing to what I like to do. Does some fantastic videos, very passionate, and he's got a great video on how to mix cars from different mods into the same race. So definitely check it out. It was a massive help to doing this, and if you're passionate about motorsport, you'll love the stuff he does. Through the S's, so we've got the Cattle Taylor BMW who will round up. On the 55th lap. too bad through there. So it'll be interesting to see what's happening at the front of the field. When we got up to second, Radicic had a huge lead. Interesting to see what the fuel mileage is for the leaders. What's happening here is seeing as we're running 12th. The AI is obviously getting better fuel mileage than I am. I don't know what it is. 2 feels quicker. Second gear through there feels quicker, but in practice it didn't seem to equate in lap times. It just gave you basically the same lap time. It feels quicker, but it also feels slower, if that makes any sense. Our nemesis, as I'm calling him for the remainder of the race, Bill Farmer. I think you've got to get the line exactly right for it to be worthwhile in second gear, which we've been able to the last 2 laps. I think if you don't quite nail your turn in, you're in a bit of trouble. Cross the line. Swoop around. Almost swooped too much. Closing in on 11th place. Past the Ian Spurl Peugeot. The Keith Sharp Supra. It's a shame the Falcons actually that they ran isn't in GTR2, because it's a really nice little colour scheme it ran. Must be some cars in the pits because we've made some time. Up to 9th now. Make that 8th because we've just gotten past the Porsche, which must be doing really well to be running this high, even with cars like me in the pits. So we're 8th, we've passed some cars, which means some other cars haven't made lap 60 either, so they'll be on the same fuel strategy we are. So that's not too bad. Oh, the Commodore, what's it doing? Probably could have dived down the inside, but it's sort of already committed to the outside. The Ellery Gazzardi Ford Sierra goes to the pits. The Pope Van Brugel Commodore next up for us. Round him up. Over the curb, then so the Clark M3 is next ahead of us in 7th, John Cotter, Peter Dillman. they'd switched their attention for 1995 to the 5 litre V8s in the Australian Touring Car Championship after being a stalwart in the BMWs since 1989. Dillman, of course, won the 93 2-litre class. We must be coming to the pits. See, that's what you got to watch out for. It's the one major glitch for this track. We can live with it. We can live with it. I've just got to be careful. Past the stranded McLean Commodore. Behind the Heffernan Arkell Porsche. Finished second in the 93 Wellington 500. It was a Porsche 123 in that race. That car finished second. The Farmer Lighting Direct Porsche finished third. And of course, as I said earlier, the Owen Evans Bruno Eichmann car won after the leading Radicic Seaton Ford Mondeo crashed out while leading with Seaton at the wheel. Up to the Opel Manta. There wasn't really a Manta in the 93 Pukekohe 300 or Wellington 500, but I thought the cars which I couldn't replicate, for instance the Corollas or the front wheel drive Corollas or the Falcon for Keith Sharp, I thought I'd just use it as an opportunity to showcase some of the lesser used cars from some of the less publicised championships that are featured in the FRM Touring Car mod. For instance, if you have a look through, there are Mantas, there are Toyota Supras, there are Volkswagen Golf Mark 1s. This is a good chance to show them off, and given this is a fictional race with some factual roots. So I'd say at the moment the Eichmann Evans Porsche is probably the first non-Class 2 2-litre car. Now past 1/3 distance, so anyone who hasn't pitted yet will be two-stopping. So that means basically we are running 7th in this race. That is our track position. If that makes any sense. Which means I've got to put my foot down a bit more. Over the curbs. They're deceiving, these curbs. They're bigger. They are quite strong. You can ride them, but if you go that little bit too much, it just throws the car completely offline, which is bad in a switchback left, right, right, like you have in that early part of the track. I don't know why I chose that side to go around Drink Road, but I didn't. We've got a huge gaggle of cars up ahead of us. Second gear. Looks like the Brian Bate. Oh! They stopped when we've gotten around the Carina, which we'll chance it. Oh, he's into our door. Wayne Munro Kevin Kiddo. Stay ahead, but amongst that gaggle was the Castrol Corona, which should be Michael Bate, I would say, at the wheel now. But we probably lost a lap in the pits, so with the repairs, so hopefully now we're back then on the same lap as that Corona. Give the gearbox hell. Thought there might be more cars sort of stranded around the track. Another gaggle up ahead. Alan Cattle. Brett Taylor. It's the first car we'll come across. There's a like Malcolm Ray, Barry Barnes. Corolla's gone around. Oh, look at all the damage on the Commodore. We'll sneak past. Sun right in our eyes now as we get halfway down the back straight. Up to the Harry Nuttall, Glenn McIntyre car, our teammates. I'd say they've probably only gotten ahead of us. Probably because we, as I said, 90 seconds is a lap and a half, and we lost more than that. We lost close to 2 laps, basically, by doing the repairs. Which I think, the time we would have lost driving around with a damaged car, we would have lost anyway. We're going to go past our teammates. We'll say thank you. I actually thought choosing these cars, I actually thought we could win this race. Which, based on qualifying, I didn't think we could. Based on how the first stint was going, we got up to second, I thought we got a bit of a shot, even though I think we only were up making up really any time because of the traffic. I think on pace, at the very least, the Schnitzer car, the Radicic Ford and the Belgravit Peugeot, I think they seemed a bit quicker. But now I think the aim's, can we get the podium? Around the oval. Flirt with that little curb on the outside too much. We've already paid the price once. The back straight. Beautiful sunny afternoon here in New Zealand. the nose off the Golf there. Around the Commodore. It's quite a forgiving car to drive, the Vectra. You can sort of throw it around almost as much as you want. Feel like you can get it back from most angles. So we're up to 5th, so there's been more pit stops. The ex-Group A Supra up ahead of us. Cars which could have done a bit more than they did. Quite good in Japan, but in Australia and in Europe never really fulfilled the wanted potential. They were very heavy though. I think they were as heavy as Commodores, but only had a 6-cylinder engine, admittedly with a turbo, but clip the curb. "71 laps down." Here's the curb, got the Drink Row Toyota ahead of us again. Yellow flag. It's the Gillen Commodore. Managed to get through 5 of them there. I'm getting worried every time I see a yellow flag pop up, just as I'm tipping into turn 1 at the moment. Quite what I had in mind. Looks like a bit of a gaggle of cars that have just turned into turn 1. Making a bit of time up, so we're out in the dirt. So we're 4 seconds off, 4th place. Yellow flag was out. Around Bruno Eichmann. The Kiddo Munro Peugeot. There we go. Oh. Bounced it over the curb. It wasn't good, and back they come on us. They let us go. Chelgrove Sierra ahead of us. Steve Ellery. And then I think the TV Times Porsche. Hard not to lose too much momentum over the mountain. Here we go. There we go. Through turn 1. Behind us looks like the Schnitzer BMW. Car 23 for this weekend. Blue flag, so BMW is ahead of us. Put a few other lapped cars between them, us and them. Roll it through. This is hard work. On the inside of the 52. Clark BMW on. Seems with the lap traffic I'm just sort of maintaining the gap to the car ahead. It ebbs and flows a bit depending on lap traffic. I'd love to know who it is. Inside of the Ed Lamont Commodore. He comes back at us. V8, 5 litre versus 4-cylinder 2 litre. I think we won out in power to weight there rather than actual horsepower. Yellow flag. What's the... like the drink row Sprinter. So the Barnes Ray Toyota, it's got going again. Some cars, it feels like we're catching them every 2 or 3 laps. Around the Commodore. Phoenix Peugeot. Oh! Probably not the way to treat the car we drove in the Manufacturers' Championship. So we're 80 laps down. 79 laps down rather. About to be 80. Almost at half distance. So I'll end up doing more than half the race in this first stint. But I think that's what had to be done to make it work, I think. Oh. Way too close for comfort. Lighting direct Porsche. So we're running 5th. I'd love to know where we'd be if we hadn't have had that crash with the number 9 Porsche and then the resultant time loss in the pit stop. Where would we be now? So we're up to 5 seconds now behind the car in 4th. The BMW's caught back up to us. Taylor Cattle BMW is next on the list. I've got to try hard to put a car in between us and the Iowa BMW, because otherwise I'll keep getting the blue flag. We're losing our battle with the 4th place car, I think. Lean on them across the top of the mountain. there's the attrition has got to some of the cars. I think there's just less cars out on track at the moment. I'm trying to wring this thing's neck. Seems to be just less gaggles of lapped cars. He's off. Bernie Gillen again. Thought he was coming at us for a second there. What it has left is a gaggle of lapped cars again. Past the Peugeot and the Porsche. Sachs McAlpine BMW. We're into the bread and butter of the race at the moment. Time won and lost now. Shows up after the last pit stop, and I think fourth place is just ahead of us, so it's the Greg Murphy, James Kay, Toyota Corona / Corona. Then we'll have a go up the inside. Oh, wasn't meant to be. We're in the ballpark though. The tyres are starting to go off a little bit. Got a lot of understeer through the right-hander onto the back straight. The back straight in the ballpark of Murphy, and then we've still got the Schnitzer BMW behind us, so he's trying to put a lap on these cars and us as well, obviously. Diet Coke BMW just ahead of us. Soper again up behind us. Of course, I'm generally just guessing who's in the car at the moment. So we're going to get both of them because they're stuck behind the Porsche. Porsche which didn't help us Porsche that didn't help us at all earlier on in the race gives us a spot, so we get ahead of Greg Murphy. We're a long way behind third place. We are 89 laps down. That is halfway in the 1994 Pukekohe 500. Sun right in the eyes down the back straight. Past us goes the BMW. Kept them behind for a while, but we fell off the track there. And we'll get back by him. And the Munro Kiddo Peugeot. Gaggle of cars up ahead of us. An Eichmann Porsche. Still getting the blue flags for the Schnitzer car. Shellgrave beamed up, Porsche again. What am I on about? Ford Sierra. Steve Ellery, Gary Gazzardi. And the Manta. Climb the curb, get around him. To the Golf, halfway down the back straight, or both of them together actually. Malcolm Ray in the Aussie Carina. I think the only Carina of that shape to actually race down this way. There was a couple of Toyota Corolla Seekers, which one of them's in this race, but it's modelled on the Carina ahead of us. But in real life it was a much differently shaped car. A hatchback rather than a sedan for starters. Still half the race to go, so we can definitely run down the gap, but that is a very long gap. Nearly 40 seconds. Very early on the brakes, the Commodore. Gaggle of cars ahead, so we're in a while there. It seemed like a lot of the packs had broken up a bit, but we're all back together now. The IPC Peugeot, a nice purple colour scheme. Oh, we nearly fell off there as we get around Ed Lamont, Tony Scott, Bernie Gillen, Jim Bull. Put some time again between us and the Schnitzer car. Brian Brabham BMW there, stuck behind the Porsche. I was expecting a bit more from Brabham. Qualified 10th, and we haven't really seen him in the race other than the early laps, especially given he won the last Asia Pacific Touring Car Championship race we did, race 2 at Canberra, so now we're relying on me getting through the lap traffic much quicker than the AI. Me not doing that. Understeer onto the back straight. Come around 3 laps until we pit. Front left's completely gone. Still the Schnitzer BMW won't go away. Either running first or second, I would assume. Will have to be if we're getting the black flag, the blue flags rather. Based on practice times, not surprising that the Schnitzer BMW is at the front or close to, but the early laps, I mean, Winkelhock was as far back as 5th. times. Whoa, what? Oh. That Opal has gone around right in front of us. Hard in the mouth stuff that was. Haven't really lost anything though, at least. Coming around now, and we will be in the pits at the end of this lap. Oh, and then the Clark BMW is now gone around. Down the back straight. 31 seconds behind third place, so we're 31 seconds away from a podium. Alright, so we come into the pits, hand over to Charlie Ricketts. So here are the standings at lap 100. We're past halfway. Radicic and Seaton still leading the way over the Schnitzer BMW of Winkelhock and Soper. Bailey and Bate have dropped to third. We were running fourth with Charlie Ricketts about to get in. Fifth place is still Murphy and Kay in the second of the Oryx Coronas. Bell and Gravett running sixth in the Peugeot. Nuttall and McIntyre seventh in the Vectra. Blanchard and Rooklyn 8th in the Benson and Hedges BMW, Brabham and O'Brien 9th, and in 10th place Baird and Riley in the second Diet Coke BMW. In the Porsche class it's still Eichmann and Evans a long way in front, 15th outright, leading their teammates Farmer and Fulford in 23rd place. Right behind them car number 15 Arkell and Heffernan. Well, in the Group A class it's still Lamont and Scott out in front, just ahead of Pope and Van Brugel. Mathias and Liston still third in the Opel. Holt and Gillen fourth. And in fifth place, getting into the top five in class, Sharp and Sorensen in the Toyota Supra. So that's at 100 laps. Charlie Rickett getting in, and we'll see how he goes in his stint. Charlie Rickett was having a pretty steady stint in our number 5 Opel Vectra. He was in a bit of a dice, running 5th, getting towards the end of his stint in his pit stop with the Oryx Toyota Corona and Jeff Brabham in the Diet Coke BMW, and then going into turn 1, the Carina gets into the back of him, spins him around, Jeff Brabham gets caught up in it, and we end up dropping 2 spots in the melee. So that drops us back right before the pit stop. And then with that we call Charlie into the pits at the end of lap 148, and as you can see he has an off at the end of the back straight into the hairpin, which isn't ideal. So we enter the pits in 6th spot. 30 lap sprint for me coming up for the end of the race. So back out of the pits for the run home. Charlie Ricketts did 48 laps. So we're coming out of the pits, got to be careful on cold tyres. Charlie was in 6th when he came to the pits, so we dropped 2 spots. There was a little incident with the Charlie O'Brien, Jeff Brabham Diet Coke BMW during the stint, so we've lost a little bit of time unfortunately, but good stint from Charlie Rickett though, because the car's still going in one piece. And we've now got a 30 lap run home. Could be less than that if I... Oof. If I keep doing that. So you can see the spread in the field. We're running 9th now, but this is mid pit stop phase. So we should make a little bit of time up. One hopes anyway. The sun is much lower than it was. Tyres are slowly coming up to temperature as we get around the Martin Matthews Peugeot. The attrition seems to have slowed down a little bit in the race. There's I don't think we've really had many big names drop out. So we come up to the Porsche. It's number 9, the Farmer Fulford car, and we give him a little clip on the way through. Work to do, unfortunately. I thought actually there'd be a lot more attrition. I thought maybe the Porsches might sort of get near the front. But the seems like the 2 litre cars have held together a bit better than I thought. Taylor Cattle BMW M3 still plugging away. to put a lap. Oh. Through on the inside. Looks like the Bruno Eichmann Porsche is the next one ahead. It is. The headlights on as the sun's getting low. It won't be dark by the end of the race, but it also won't help the AI see you any better, but here we go through the back markers. BMW closing in. It's actually the Schnitzer BMW, so whether that's the race leader or not, we'll find out, but scything through the lap traffic. The IPC Peugeot still going as well. Which is good to see. Sachs McAlpine M3 is the next target. Runs a bit wide actually. Hawk back up behind us. Another Peugeot up ahead of us, the Kevin Kiddo, Wayne Munro Peugeot, so that's still going as well. 20 laps to go. curb on the inside as we come off Noble Mountain. Once again, Winklehawk back onto our tail. Around the number 9 Porsche again. Winklehawk trying to get past us. Right there. I don't want to give him it though. Just feel the tyres going away a bit. We're running 8th now. Probably the 3 stoppers has hurt us a bit. Whoa. And past us comes Joachim Winklehawk. Let him go. Not the exact result I was hoping for today. I was hoping we'd be fighting that BMW for the win, but this race brings down the curtain on the 1994 Oceania portion of 2-litre racing. Come through, yellow flag, there's a Porsche in the middle of the track. My God. You don't want to come this far and T-bone a Porsche. As I was saying, of course it all started with the 94 Australian Manufacturers Championship. We did a bit of stuff in Europe with the, of course that's of Oceania, but did the German Touring Car Cup. And after that we went through to the Asia Pacific Touring Car Championship. And we're finishing up here with this event. And we'll unlap ourselves again because caught up in that traffic looking underneath Eichmann. Oof. What is going on? They're all getting into each other. Underneath Ray. Chelgrave Ford. Try and get the Golf as well. So plans are underway. For the next phase, we'll certainly be moving into the 1995 Super Touring land, because in 95 it became Class 2 2-litre racing became Super Touring as its official title. And it was an exciting time, especially in Australia in 1995, because the championship got much more competitive. A couple of new official manufacturers joined. A lot of privateers brought in very, very good cars. There'll be a couple of races off the back of those Super Touring rounds that we'll do. And we will be doing the full championship, Australian Championship. So we'll do the German Championship again. We will also be doing another championship alongside it. I'll give some hints. It's in a different game, but not a lot different to GTR2. It will be set earlier than where we are at the moment. By that obviously I mean 1994, not 2025. Be good to finish off the 94 races though, because it's taken a lot longer than I thought. What's it been, 18 months, something like that. And maybe even a little bit longer, getting on close to 2 years. To do 1 year, but it's because I wanted this race to sort of finish off the 94 season, but that also included doing a part-time BPR schedule, and I sort of wanted to do it in not necessarily chronological order, because the BPR enduros were a bit out of whack in terms of the real timeline compared to the 2-litre racing, but if this was going to be the finale to 94, I needed to get all the BPR races I was going to do done, so that delayed us a lot, as I said in the Suzuka 4-hour video. It takes a long time, you've got to find the time to get them done, so I'll drop the straight timeline. I mean, I'll try and keep the 2-litre stuff in sync in terms of doing the Australian Championship, the German Championship, any others I do. With, say for instance, the longer races like a BPR schedule, I'll sort of just do them when I can, which I hope you all don't mind. 10 laps to go. We may fall short. Nigel Porsche goes wide. They check up a bit because Sharp came across the front of him. I mean, we're on for a top 10 finish, which is all right. Back up on the Cattle Taylor M3 BMW. Depends how many laps we're down as to how likely it is that we're going to catch 7th place, because and I really need to stay in front of the Schnitzer BMW, which is now back up behind us. I can't afford to let him past. Brian Bate, we've got to have a crack. There we go. Interesting to see how far some of the other AI cars have stretched the fuel. It's probably too late of a dive, but flag back out, go to the outside for the Munro Kiddo Peugeot. There we go, and we'll get the Porsche as well, rattle through. It's after 4 seconds though. Gear. Just jump on the brakes. So car comes to the pits. Looks like our teammate, very late stop for Harry Nuttall and Glenn McIntyre. And actually we've made a spot, so that. So we'll check it flags out. So this is the last lap. So a number of laps down. This is our last chance to get the BMW, which we've done. So we've got Brabham and Brabham on the last lap. I think that's the other Diet Coke car just up there. So as we come round now, well, there we go. So the Schnitzer BMW didn't win because the checkered flag's already out. We're going to cross the line in 6th. As a teammate pops out of the pits. They must have had to stop for fuel on the last lap. Wow, what a race. So after a hard 500 kilometres, here's how the top 20 looked in the Pukekohe 500 for 1994. Paul Radicic and Glenn Seaton. First place in the Ford Mondeo after 178 laps, 46 seconds clear of the Schnitzer BMW of Jochen Winkelhock and Steve Soper. Quite a dominant win. Third place, Julian Bailey and Michael Bate, 2 laps down on the winner, just ahead of their teammates Greg Murphy and James Kay in the other Toyota Corona. While 5th place, Craig Baird and Brett Riley in the Diet Coke BMW, 5 laps off the pace. We finished up in 6th, Russ Dugman, Charlie Rickett in the Opel Vectra, also 5 laps down. 7th place, Jeff Brabham, Charlie O'Brien in the Diet Coke BMW, 5 laps off the pace. In 8th, our teammates, Harry Nuttall, Glenn McIntyre, further lap back. In 9th, the first of the BMW M3s, John Sachs and James McAlpine, 10 laps off the pace, just in front of the other BMW M3, Alan Cattle and Brett Taylor, breaking into the top 10. In 11th, the Ford Sierra, Steve Ellery, Gary Gazzardi, 11 laps back. First place in the Porsche class and 12th outright for Bruno Eichmann and Owen Evans, 14 laps down in the Porsche. 13th, Michael Martin and Ken Matthews in the Peugeot. They had a crash late in the race, but are still classified. 14th, Chris Barnes and Malcolm Ray in the Carina, 17 laps back, just ahead of Kevin Kiddo and Charles Munro in the Peugeot. In 16th, Ian Spurl, Phil Alexander, 17 laps back in the Peugeot. 17th outright and first in the Group A class, Ed Lamont, Tony Scott in the Commodore, just ahead of John Blanchard and Warwick Brooklyn, who had a gearbox failure late in the race, but still classified 18th outright. Nigel Arkell, Ross Heffernan, 19th place, second in the Porsche class, 20 laps back, just ahead of Bill Fulford and Bill Farmer in the second of the Lighting Direct Porsches. Third in class, 21 laps off the pace, in 20th position outright. So that's a wrap on this Enduro. Quite an interesting race. A lot more of the Class 2 2-litre cars made the finish than I thought. I thought they'd be a lot more unreliable. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with another race very soon.